Hey guys, what's up and welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. We've got a lot to talk about today because I've got the Natasha Denona Glam eyeshadow palette, and you guys know I can never pass up a good Natasha Denona palette launch. And so this was no exception, and we really do have things to talk about today. So if you're interested in seeing how this palette worked for me, demo swatches, just all of the nitty gritty that you need to know if this palette is right for you, then just keep on watching. So guys, let's go into our normal format. I mean, because who would I be if I changed it up? I'm a creature of habit. You guys know I love to keep things the same. So let's start off with the box. It looks like this. It is a very cool toned gray packaging, which you knew going in that this was going to be a primarily cool toned palette. There is a little bit of warmth in there, but for the most part, it is a cool toned palette, and the box does reflect that. As usual, she keeps it simple. I always like her boxes. I think they're just classy, simple, pretty, just all of that. On the back, as usual, you have the layout of the palette, the ingredients, and I can't remember if I've seen this before. I feel like this is new. Instructions on how to use these shades. For reference, it is a 24-month shelf life. I find that to be consistent with all of her palettes. One of you had asked me, does that mean it's only good for 24 months? I'm gonna tell you, I keep mine for like 240 months. I keep it until I can't use it anymore, whether it be because I just want to declutter it or because you can kind of tell when it's like, all right, this isn't really any good anymore. It is made in Italy, which is typical also of her eyeshadow palettes. So that being said, we'll come back to these little instructions later. Let's go ahead and go into the Sephora website real quick. Not going to spend too much time here, but I do want to give you a very quick description of what it says that it is. It is a $65 eyeshadow palette that does contain 15 eyeshadow shades. If you are familiar with her smaller eyeshadow palette versions, then it is a smaller pan of product. Still, I think plenty of product to last you a lifetime, but you get more in there than her larger pans or her larger eyeshadow palettes. Let me rephrase. I think it may be around the same, but it's about half the price tag, which sign me up. I'd rather pay less and get less. That's not a big deal for me. It's an everyday palette. I want you to remember that. It's an everyday palette that creates super dramatic smoky eyes, as well as a variety of natural and extreme glam looks. Let's see, cruelty-free, which we already know, free of parabens. This palette includes shades named after the ideal place to apply them, helping you recreate glam makeup looks. It's as if you have special insider makeup tips from Natasha Denona herself when you apply these shades. Hence why I think they added the little instructions on the back. So let me tell you what it says on the back so you have an idea. It says, for matte eyeshadows, apply with a fluffy eyeshadow brush to blend or detail brushes for precision. And then metallic, duochrome, and chroma crystal eyeshadows, which that tells you that all of those formulas are in this palette. Apply with dense eyeshadow brushes for a subtle finish. For high payoff foiled finish, apply with a damp eyeshadow brush or with the tip of your finger, which is always what I recommend you do. That's kind of a given. So let's go into the palette itself. This is what it looks like. Again, very, very similar to all of her previous palettes. It's just the color that has changed. It is in that same plastic type of packaging. And again, it is a very cool toned gray. It reminds me of like an elephant metallic type of gray. On the back, you have the little pinholes to pop these out. You can rearrange them. Was it Temptalia? I can't remember. Somebody's blog said, you can kind of arrange them to a little bit more of a not appealing layout, but what works best for you kind of thing based on where you are supposed to put them on your eye. We'll go into that. And then it's just got the little sticker. I always see these on the back of her palette. So the inside, again, no surprise here. If you are familiar with this layout, it's the mirror over here. It takes up the full inside. And then you do have 15 eyeshadow shades here. For the most part, this is a very cool tone eyeshadow palette. I knew that going in. It didn't appeal to me from day one. And I have said that typically if it doesn't call my name, I know better not to buy it. However, with Natasha Denona, things can be very surprising. She makes an incredible eyeshadow formula, and for this price point, I'm like, I really do want to try it. It's not like a Pat McGrath that's like twice the price. And so it is a very cool tone palette with a sprinkling of warmth. So that being said, let's go into swatches first, like we typically do, you know, creature of habit, and then we'll go into the demo from there. So let me grab some swatches and I will be right back. Okay, guys. Here's the top row. I even don't know if to go through the names with you because they don't have names. As I read to you in the description, it has, the name is a placement. So for example, this is called center eyelid. This is called outer eyelid. This is called inner corner, crease, and transition. We'll come back to that. So let me go ahead and place these on my hand for you so that you can see what they look like. Ooh, a little flaky there, but there you go. So definitely, I mean, cool tone abounds in this eyeshadow palette. There's a whole lot of that. And it's funny because I had always thought, well, based on what I'd seen, there's a ton of people who prefer warm over cool tones. But when I saw that this was going to release, a ton of people were very excited about it. Like, I guess there's just not as much of a market for cool tone palettes, so they don't release as often. I don't know. But yeah, there were a ton of people excited about this. So you're going to see a good theme about that. Let me grab the second row and be right back. So let's go over the shade names. I feel almost a little ridiculous reading these names, but okay. Smoke, Blend, Lash Line, Inner Corner, and Center Eyelid. So I find these to be a little bit on the warmer side. Not sure, you know, how it's coming across, but I do see that little sprinkling in here of, you know, those warm shades among all of these cool shades, but again, very, very icy. For the last row, we've got center eyelid, outer eyelid, center eyelid, outer eyelid, and brow bone. As usual, I always go in a little bit ham with swatching and it can get a little crumbly. These are one swipe swatches for your reference so that you know what the pigmentation is like with a just one swipe. But yeah, this is the palette in its entirety. So that being said, it is now time to go into this eye look right here. One thing I will say about this palette is that it is pretty simple to put together a look. Again, we'll go into more detail on that. When I say pretty simple, it's 2 or 3 shades and you've created a what looks to be sultry / smoky look. So this eye look is actually very, very easy. It's very quick, but it looks very glam, very evening, like I'm about to go out on a hot date. So that being said, but no one's going out on hot dates right now, at least for the most part, I think. Let's go into this demo and we will be back with final thoughts. So starting off with the shade Crease, I am going to place this in the crease. This is so awkward, I don't know. I'm not a fan of these shade names, to be honest. I would have rathered regular names, but just layering this in the crease, I did find that this one can look very muddy very quickly. I don't know if it's just a me thing or if others are having that same experience, but I did layer this about 3 different times. Next, going in with the shade Blend. I'm just grabbing this on a smaller little blending brush and I am going to place this over the top of that crease shade. Just kind of, guys, blend it out. I can't with these names. Okay, going in with the shade Outer Eyelid on a blending brush. Now this is like a metallic type of shade, but I did take it on a blending brush. And quite surprisingly, it did blend out very beautifully with a blending brush. So you do have that versatility with these types of shadows. Next, I'm going to go into the shade Center Eyelid with my finger. This is the pinky shade, and I'm just going to place this pretty much all over my eyelid, in the center and in the inner portion. And this one goes on very smoothly, very nicely, very glam. Going in with a brush and just placing this in the little detail areas that I can't reach with my finger. and just kind of evening it all out, going in and just kind of adding that product to intensify it just a bit. Next, I'm going in with that same blending brush, no added product, just kind of blending that into the shade I just placed with my finger just to blend it out and make it look a little more seamless. Next, I'm going in with the shade Inner Corner, and I am placing that over the top of the center eyelid shade that I just placed, just to add a little bit more pop. Next, I'm going in with my Essence brown liner, I can't remember what it's called, and just I am tight lining and doing my waterline as well because black just would be too harsh. Next, going back in with that outer eyelid shade, and I am placing that on the lower lash line just with a little pencil brush. I will tell you, if you're a contact lens wearer, this is very dusty, and oh man, I had trouble with it going in my eyes. Next, I'm going to go in with the shade Inner Corner and a little detail brush, and that's just going to be what goes on my brow bone. This is a very, very icy shade, so keep that in mind when you're placing this. And obviously, I placed it on my inner corner as well. Going to do some lashes and mascara, and this is the final look. I hope you enjoyed, guys. So it's time to talk about the nitty gritty of this bad boy right here. So let's go ahead and talk about packaging. As usual, I love her packaging. It's simple, but it's so easy on the eyes. It's pretty to look at. It's comfortable to hold. I just thoroughly enjoy her eyeshadow palettes with this hard shell casing, whatever it's called. I never move mine around, so I don't use these little pinholes, but they may be very useful to you. I like how the back is always kind of that rubbery feel, yet the front is that metallic, shiny, slick type of feel. Anyways, love the color to this packaging as well. Let's go ahead and go into, you guessed it, the mattes. The mattes in this palette, I don't think they're a different formula. I'm not as much of a fan of the mattes in this eyeshadow palette. That is crazy ridiculous, because why would they be any different? I am thinking possibly one thing is the color scheme to them, which I will touch on later on. But for example, the crease shade that I used in the demo, I went in about 3 times. That particular shade ends up looking muddy on me. I'm not a fan. It's something about the texture of these mattes, and again, maybe it is all in my head because truly I don't think she has changed up the formula. But the mattes in here, not really my faves. They just end up looking a little bit muddy on me. They're a little bit more powdery and chalky than I am used to from her formula. I don't know, just wasn't a fan. Let's go into the standout shades, and I'm gonna lump all the standout shades together, like the metallics, the duochromes, the chroma, whatever. I know she's got different terminology for all of them. Anyways, in general, they are absolutely stunning. They're beautiful. That is the star of the show. That's the star of this palette, are the standout metallic type of shades. And you get a lot of them in this eyeshadow palette. There is a lot to work with here. And on their own, even just as a wash of color, they are very, very pretty. It's what I come to expect from a Natasha Denona standout eyeshadow. Another thing to mention, going back to the mattes, is that these are all powder formula. There is no cream to powder formula, which is one of my favorite matte formulas from Natasha Denona, which is actually very disliked by a lot of people. Well, she did not include any in here, so be aware of that, whether you like them or not. Maybe that's why I found the mattes to be a little different, who knows. Anyways, so yes, the metallics, beautiful. You saw in the demo, they apply very easily. They pack a punch, and you don't need a whole lot. Now, I'm gonna take you into the whole topic of this color story. So, this color story speaks to me less than any other palette, whether by her brand, by the brand Natasha Denona, or really any other brands. I know that's so crazy to hear because you're like, then why did you buy it? Like I said, I am a huge fan of the brand, and I love getting my hands on these $65 palettes. They're a great way to go. They're a great quality eyeshadow, and truly this palette is no exception overall. I am not a fan of this color story. I am going to just be completely transparent with you. The first 2 or 3 times that I used this palette, I literally sat down just staring at it like almost waiting for inspiration. I don't even know how to describe it to you other than that. I feel like that sounds so blunt, but that really is a me thing. It's not you, it's me. It's a me thing. It's not my type of color story. I don't know. I am the pack-a-punch, colorful type of girl. I'll use neutrals. I very much like neutrals, but they have to be the right neutrals. I've told y'all in the past, silver eyeshadows are really not my favorite. I don't buy a whole lot of them. I don't have a whole lot of them in palettes. This palette obviously runs very silvery cool. So all in all, you're already gonna be able to tell I'm not over the moon for this palette, and it's mainly because of the color story. The formula is not lacking. The standout shades are incredible, and I think there's a market for people for this type of thing, for people who like this type of thing. There are people who like, the thing about this palette is that once you put it on your eyes, it can look very amped up, but in a soft and subtle type of way. And I'm not a soft and subtle type of girl on the eyes. Up until recently, I hadn't really even used my Biba palette, so I started pulling that one out. And last month, I actually used it quite a bit. I found that it was very flattering in a very minimalistic way. And I thought to myself, why doesn't this one appeal to me in a minimalistic fashion the way the other one does? And the only thing I can arrive at, the only conclusion I can arrive at is it's not the color story that is up my alley. Honestly, I could probably not use this one again and be okay with it. It looks beautiful, and you may be looking at it and saying, like, your eye look looks so good. And I agree with you. No, that sounds so vain. I agree that it looks stunning once it's on the eyes, but it's just sometimes, when you know, when a palette really calls your name, and this one just doesn't do it for me. So I am disappointed in this one. Again, not because of the quality of it, just even though the mattes weren't everything and more, but that's okay. I'm not a matte type of girl. I come to the party for the standout shades. One thing I did want to tell you, and it's not like it's any kind of the same in a mini format, but truly and honestly, hands down, I would choose the mini retro over the glam, like hands down, in a heartbeat, in a split second. And this has a couple of cool tone shades if that's what you're looking for. It has a pink in here, and there is a subtle type of pink in here as well. Granted, obviously a little bit of a different formula, a little bit more, in my opinion, subtle. But look, there's like a pinky pink here, and then like a pinkish kind of topper here. I just feel like this palette speaks to me on so many more levels than this palette. And this one does have a couple of cool shades. It's just that this one gives me so much more inspiration. It just packs a bigger punch to me than the Glam palette. So those are my thoughts, guys. For whatever it's worth, I hope you find it beneficial. I hope you find it helpful. You may be a cool tone type of girl and be like, you know what, this hands down is for me, and I am clicking on the buy button now. And that's totally okay. I feel like that is why there's so much variety in the makeup industry, so many product out there, is because what I like or what works for me may not be what you like or works for you. All right, guys, that brings us to the end of today's video. Quick and easy. I hope you found it beneficial. If this is on your loves list, hopefully it helped you make a decision one way or the other, or maybe it was just entertaining to watch. But either way, thank you so much for stopping by and spending a little bit of time with me. I hope that if you did enjoy it, that you'll give it a thumbs up. That really does help my channel in more ways than even I understand. And if you are new, that you'd consider subscribing. I'd love to have you as part of this YouTube family. Before I let you go, you guys know what time it is. It is time for the verse of the day, and I'm going to give you one that is absolutely one of my favorites, but also one of my husband's favorites. And when we're going through a period of like what is happening, or just kind of despair, or not even despair, but just discouragement, we'll remind each other of this verse. And it is such a pick-me-up. And it comes from Jeremiah 29:11, and it says, "I know the plans I have for you, says the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future." He wants the very, very best for his children. And that verse is such a reminder of that. And I just want to remind you of that, that whatever you are going through, If you have the Lord by your side, He is everything. And no matter what you're going through, He has plans for you that are not to harm you, they're to prosper you, to give you a future and a hope. And what a hope we have in Him. All right, friends, well, I will see you very soon in the next video. I already know we're going to have a lot of palettes to talk about this month, so this ain't going to be the first and the last review that you see. So stay tuned. I love each and every one of you, but Jesus loves you so much more. Until the next one, stay safe, stay well, and I'll see you soon. Have a rest of your day. Have a good rest of your day, guys. Bye.